Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Nika Chegenizadeh, and my faculty mentor is Dr. Eric Schwitzgable of the Philosophy Department. And my project is entitled The Relationship Between the Beliefs of Human Nature and Political Ideology. So the question that I'm going to be addressing in this project is, does a relationship exist between our beliefs in human nature and political ideology? And in this project, human nature, I mean it to mean inherently good or inherently bad. And political ideology will be related between liberalism and conservatism. And I'll get a little bit into these meanings later. Just moving on into my motivation. So actually, I took a course with my faculty mentor way back when, studying moral philosophy. And I always wondered if human nature was related in any way to our attitudes or our beliefs. And after a conversation with my more conservative thinking mother, we both landed at different conclusions as to what human nature is and how it is. So I began to think about what are the differences between me and my mom, and how we landed at these different conclusions. And so what I ended up with was age, life experience, and political ideology. And so I kind of wanted to study all three of these in a way. So age is a factor in the study, of course. It's part of the demographics. There are a couple questions relating to life experience of the participants. And so the last thing that was left to study is political ideology. So that seemed, I just felt more and more compelled to study that against the beliefs of human nature. And it also felt fitting because of my background as a public policy major. So this is, it just felt more and more of a path for me to study. I hope that this project can expand on what we currently know on moral philosophy, but also to see if there is a connection on political philosophy. Going into the methodology very quickly, it was relatively simple. Made a survey on Qualtrics, and this was divided into 3 blocks. So first, measuring the participants' beliefs on human nature, then their political ideology, and finally, a block of questions on demographics. And then this survey was posted to the Prolific survey platform. In terms of current research and literature on the research question, it's very scarce. It's pretty rare to find anything on it just because it is so complex and it's travels into multiple subject areas. So with very little on investigation in this research question, delving into the theories of human nature and the definitions of political ideology is very important to the project. And we'll get to that in just a moment. So first, my hypothesis. My primary hypothesis was that those who are more left-leaning, or what we'll call liberal, they would believe that human nature is good because liberalism defines humans to have the capacity to achieve goodness. Not to mention that it also believes humans are born good, and we're also born with a clean slate. So this only emphasizes man's purity and goodness. Contrastingly, those who are more conservative will believe that human nature is bad because conservatism, to an extent, does not allow much for social reform, nor does it believe that human nature can change. Essentially, human nature is fixed from when we are born. So how we are born is how we will die. And this hypothesis is purely based on the traditional definitions of liberalism and conservatism. But I do want to go a little bit into the philosophical aspect of the project as well. So in the project, I outline 4 main philosophers, 2 of which belong to ancient Chinese philosophy. Their names are Mengzi and Zhengzi. And 2 are from the Enlightenment era, which we might be more familiar with as Rousseau and Hobbes. For the sake of time, I'm going to give a very crude summary, but basically Mengzi and Zhengzi are opposites of each other. Mengzi believes that humans are born with the tools to be good, and Zhengzi believes that there needs to be an external force to shape us to be good. And it's important to note that between these two philosophers, they both believe that humans are capable of goodness or to achieve goodness. It's just in how we reach that destination. So Mengzi believes in self-reflection, while Zhengzi believes we need to look towards a mentor or a model figure to be good. So between Hobbes and Rousseau, Rousseau is slightly more complex, but his theory basically states that humans are good, but society corrupts them. And Hobbes's theory is that humans are or have an inherently bad nature, which is why we need a stronger authority to keep them in check. And typically the stronger authority is like a governmental agency or figure. So trying to keep all the theories in mind, it's very easy to see how intricate the theories of human nature can be. But for the sake of simplicity in the project, like I stated in the beginning, I stuck to simply labeling them as good or bad. So going into preliminary results very quickly, table 1 shows the interaction between human nature and political ideology. So the columns represent the political ideology categories: liberal, leaning conservative, and conservative. And of course, the rows is the beliefs on human nature. So between each political ideology category, we see across the board, there's an overwhelming majority of people who believe that human nature is good. Thus, the results suggest that the relationship of beliefs on human nature and political ideology is not related. I do want to point out as well that these are total values, so just the number of participants, not percentages or anything like that. Tables 2 and 3 are demographic questions. So table 2 asks the religiosity of the participant, or how often they engage in religion, more than once a week, once a month, only during holidays, and never. And table 3 asks the participant on any dependents that they have. So I do want to go into a little bit why they were added into the survey, just as an example of what was included in the survey. So we know currently that there's a lot of factors affecting our attitudes, and we know for sure that there's factors affecting our political attitudes. This is called political socialization. And this is the belief that, or the idea that we develop our own political opinions and how we develop them. So we know for sure some common ones are the family, school, friends, and close ties to our communities. This all influences our political thinking, preferences that we develop, and how we view certain policies. On the beliefs of human nature, there's a lot less literature out there dedicated to this, but I believe it's very similar to political socialization, except instead of developing a political opinion, we're developing a social opinion specifically on the view of human nature. So this is where religiosity comes in, and this is where being a parent or a guardian, a caregiver, essentially having a dependent, these positions in life, I believe, change our ideas on policy and also the social behaviors that we view on others, because we're put through a transformation and we are given new circumstances. The new circumstances grant us new experiences, and the experiences thus influence our beliefs. And not to mention that we also want our beliefs to benefit our circumstances, which is another reason that we're willing to change our view. On any future analysis, well, it would have to be done using the Qualtrics data that was collected and any tools that are available to me on Qualtrics or as a UCR student. I would, however, like to do a more in-depth look at the demographic information versus attitudes on human nature. And although I'm not sure I can expect to find anything new from this, I'd still like to investigate the data because it's there. And there's still much to do. You know, there's a full analysis is still needed. But for any future direction or future replication of the project, I think having a larger number of participants, maybe up to 500, would be a more representative sample. And on top of that, I think that adding options to describe one's beliefs on human nature would definitely help with future specificity and just getting more accurate results. And by this, I mean, since I only provided 2 options on the beliefs of human nature, perhaps there was a participant that had to sacrifice their beliefs of what human nature really is for just one of the 2 options. So providing more could help out with that. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge my faculty mentor, Dr. Eric Schritzgable, for partially funding my project. Thank you so very much. And also your commentary was very valuable. Thank you. These are my citations for the presentation. And I can take any questions that anyone has now. Also, my email is included in case you have any questions to contact me. And thank you all so much.
Right. Thank you so much, Nika. And thanks to everybody for the virtual applause I see happening. It was excellent.